Actually, the one thing I do miss is a good glass of beer and ice cream.
"61-year-old Bill Mackey is a Jesuit priest and teacher from Montreal. He lives in the mountains of eastern Bhutan. Bhutan is a tiny Himalayan kingdom of just over 1 million people, situated between India and China. In 1963, Father Mackey was teaching in India when the King of Bhutan asked him to come and help them set up the country's first educational system. He's now the principal of the Sherubtse Public School near Tashigang village. In 1973, he was honored for his work in education and became the only foreigner to ever receive that country's highest award, the Beloved Son of Bhutan Medal.
Bhutan is slowly coming out of the early Middle Ages, and it has to pass through what other countries have gone through in 3-4 centuries. We are trying to do that in, I'd say, a period of about 10 years. So we're in the midst of a reformation, a renaissance, an industrial revolution. And if you want to understand Bhutan, you'd have to understand it in this sense. When I first came in 63 to Bhutan, there was not a city, there was not a village, there was nothing big in the sense of a group of people together. A village would consist, say, of at the most 10 to 12 houses. Bhutan was completely self-contained. Now that has changed to a certain extent. And so we have been asked, and I think it's a very important thing we're doing, is to make doctors, engineers, people who can think, people who can work for their country, organizers, people who can direct their people and lead their people. And as the transition is very great, because we're trying to do 300 years' work in one, we have to train men in a very special way. And I think that is the main purpose of the school. I'd ask you to kindly stand for the Bhutan oath, please.
Bhutan is my country. All Bhutanese are my brothers and sisters. I love my country, and I am proud of its rich and varied heritage.
education system which we have today began about 15 years back. At that time, Bhutan had no formal education, and only now have we've reached up to sort of high school level. We have about 10 high schools in the whole country. If we can educate the children here, give them a very strong Bhutanese background to take what is good out of their culture and to keep it, many of their deep religious feelings and thoughts, which are very, very precious, and to make them more and more Bhutanese, then I think we're doing a tremendous service to the country, preparing a group of people who are interested in Bhutan. My first day in Bhutan was, I arrived at the border around midnight. During the conversation that evening, the Prime Minister asked me if I would come to Eastern Bhutan to choose a site for the school. So I went, first I headed out 4 days to a place called Ainsi, Ainsi, almost up to the Tibetan border. I got used to say my own prayers and to offer Mass to the background of Tibetan chanting and Bhutanese singing and religious chants and drums and bells. And so that was my sort of introduction to Bhutanese religion and my own religion, sort of going one into the other. When I came up to Eastern Bhutan, I arrived at Tashigong shortly before the 3-day dance festival. All the local people gather for this. It's kind of a medieval mystery play where the monks teach religion through stories and dances. And when I first got there, many people were looking at me, and I was wondering what they were talking about. So I asked the person with me, who was acting as an interpreter, why are they so interested in me? And his answer was, he says, well, they've never seen red hair. They want to know if you had painted it, especially for the occasion.
Okay, let's try some tables. 9 8s, 8 8s, 9 4s, 6 7, 9 3s.
Well, I probably found that I seem to have a natural aptitude for teaching. Another reason is I don't like too much abstract thinking, and I like to be with people who are alive. Well, if you want to be with people who are alive, you better get into a classroom.
Tables, tables, tables. 9 8s, 4 9s, 6 5s, 7 4s, 9 3s, 10 12s. No, God. Okay, hand folded. Ready? Hand folded. Okay. 9 times 8. Plus 8.
You've got a complete world of living realities with a tremendous variety and so much activity and life in it and beauty and goodness, and well, I just sort of fell in love with it, and that's it, I'd say.
Subtract 4. Answer?
6.
6. Very good. Okay, again, ready? 11 5s,
35.
11 4s,
54.
11 2s,
52.
2 11 times 43.
43.
11 times 98.
98.
11 times 736.
736.
Okay. Fine.
For me, any teacher, unless he gives something special, gives something of himself, he's not a real teacher. Brother Nick, because of his knowledge of agriculture, can improve the whole setup, agricultural setup of this eastern Bhutan, because he can give them something to take back to their homes and improve the agricultural setup of the country.
Before we did that experiment, remember we were distilling the water here, and it was salty water at the beginning. What did the water taste
Father
like?
Robbins, with his science, actually teaching them how to think, how to work out a problem, sort of a scientific mind, weighing things, doing something which is really worthwhile too.
What happened to some of the mud?
Mother Peter, who we have here, German-Swiss sister from Switzerland, she has a marvelous talent for music. That love of music, that love of life, that love of art, of beauty, well, she gives to the kids. And I'd say every teacher on the staff has something special to contribute.
So you hang it up a little bit like this. Then you want disinfect this now. Nice. Go slowly. Listen. Put it in the center. Yes. Now use it very slowly, because it's rather painful. How much you got in? 1 milliliter? Very slowly. Very slowly. Ah, that's perfect. Yes, a little bit more straight there. Yeah, that's fine. That's wonderful. Okay, now you're disinfected. Wonderful. Now you take this up again. Put it in there. Right?
What has been the main focus in your own life, do you think?
Over the years, I think it probably wasn't too clear at the beginning, but I think fundamentally it has been probably a closer love of God being expressed by service and love of men. And for me, as we grow, if I get closer to God, then that love of God enters my life, and then I show that, I manifest that by my service and work for others. And it gives a man a sort of a boost and enthusiasm. You've got something very solid behind you, and especially in the work we're doing here, we can see the result of that work. And so history, geography, science, all have a very important part. But on top of that, we'd like to stress something, I'd say, much deeper, much wider, a sense of social service, a sense of love and understanding, a sense of living in a community. I think it's very much in the minds of these people here. It's what they live. They may not express it the same way, but for instance, if I drop into a Bhutanese home, no matter how poor it is, or how small it is, I'm accepted. I'm one of their family. I'm one of them. They give me the best of what they have, even probably sacrificing some things just to give me a little extra. For instance, I have children in the school, maybe say 12, 13 years old. If their parents die or if somebody's sick, if I have to send a kid home, I'll think nothing of sending a kid 4 or 5 days journey by himself over the mountains. And he'll head off without anything except what he has on. He'll go to a house, he's fed, he's taken care of, he has a place to sleep, and well, that's the way the Bhutanese live. And we've tried to bring a lot of that spirit into the school.
Do you think as a Jesuit there's been an influence in your religious life through your contact with Buddhism?
Definitely so, in this sense that these people have taught me something, I think, which is very important in their religious life. Their approach to God is not through a book. Their approach to God is a kind of experimental knowledge. They live in a spiritual world. You have good spirits and bad spirits, and their whole life is tied up some way with a spiritual world. It's not a book knowledge, it's something which they get, say, from living. It's an experimental knowledge. Now, I found that in my own personal religious life, there was too much of a stress on theory, probably. Books and theory and system, while we didn't get that closeness, that awareness, that experimental knowledge of God. And because of my contact with these people, I found that they've taught me something, they've given me something. And I consider my religious life much richer because of my contact with these people. They seem to clarify my approach. The more I see of their religion and discuss with them, I find that there are aspects of a reality. Each religion looks at God, that reality, in one way or another. One have one approach, another religion has another approach. Both have something new to offer. God is, or that reality which exists outside of all of us, is so great that no one religion can exemplify it perfectly. And so I hope that their religion is also enriched by coming in contact with me. Actually, the one thing I do miss is a good glass of beer and ice cream. And when my brother picked me up at the airport 2 years ago, in my last trip home, he had more work at the office, so he left me at my sister's apartment and went on to the office. He came back 3 hours later, and he found me, much to his surprise and almost disgust in one way, eating ice cream and drinking beer and watching television. Actually, I feel out of place at first when I go back to Canada. I've been here so long, I think probably like a Bhutanese or like a man from the East. My emotions, my expression of those emotions are tied up with a Bhutanese way of thinking and acting.
Do you have any particular feeling for where you'd like to spend your final days on Earth?
I'd like to spend it right here in this lovely setting around me. Actually, the way I look at death is not so much an end, it's a passing on. And we're on sort of a journey, so whether the last part of the journey is probably in Canada or here, it's that passing on to something new, something, a much wider vision, a much more perfect way of life, a greater, say, union or contact with the Supreme Being, which I think will make up for any difficulties we have in passing on.